both working out before this to get super, super hyped.
Yeah, dude, you got to get pumped, dude.
Yeah, dude. Hopefully I was just listening to a ton of music, but the baby was crying in the background before this too. So I like sat down at the desk. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was also thinking, I'm technically on leave right now, but I'm so excited to chat through this with you. And I know I planned this during leave and I was like, no, this is too good. And I know it's also probably like the busiest week of the year for you and your team.
Yeah, it's been pretty hectic with us because there's all these moving parts, and then we also like are deciding to launch Amazon at the same time. So it's like it's gotten pretty hectic, but it's been fun. I mean, this whole thing has been just organized chaos since the beginning anyway, so it's really nothing that we're not used to.
Well, that's what I love about like just the story, man. So we should be pushing live into LinkedIn, and I'm really stoked on this. I'm Ethan, partner and president here at Agile, oversee our social commerce team, and just really excited to bring the Easy Bomb story to life. I feel like a lot of people when we were at Grow LA, just like all over, they sort of recognize Easy Bombs now. It's incredible how fast it's grown. But I know just from the experience of working with you and also what you shared, like it has not been the easiest thing in the world to get this off the ground. It wasn't just sort of an overnight success story like, oh, you're kind of going about your day to day, working a 9 to 5. Like, I have this idea. Let me see if it works out. So I would love for you to just introduce yourself to anyone tuning in and maybe just share a little bit more about your background. Like, what were you doing before this, right?
Yeah, you really nailed it there. Like the magic of Easy Bombs is that we make it easy to cook, but it's certainly not an easy achievement to be able to do what we've been doing on the back end. There's so many moving parts with it, but I'll jump right into some of my background here. So I know I get to meet a lot of new people in the space, and they are starting to know me for what I've been doing here at Easy Bombs. And everybody sees this. I mean, you can consider it like an overnight success, but there was a lot of business experience that has come with this along the way. Over the past 10 years, I haven't had any job or employment, kind of carved my own path since the beginning there. My first only job was working at a warehouse, and then I quickly moved up there to like management, and I just realized this isn't for me. I really wanted to do something more. I've always had that entrepreneur spirit. So my first startup, we raised some money through some friends and family, then took it to some VCs. It was all around the loyalty reward space in the like small, medium business category, primarily restaurants. That business went on to merge to another one called Trio Rewards, where I was a partner in that as well. And what really kind of stumped the growth there on that was when COVID came around. Imagine having an app-based solution with 95% of your business being wrapped around restaurants. So we did like one last ditch Hail Mary where we said, let's do online ordering and kind of order ahead. And that ended up landing us a deal at one of the biggest fairgrounds here in California. So like they wanted to take the fair cashless, and we went through all of that. We successfully pulled it off. We built so much software in the period of like 4 to 5 months, and we did it. We spent so much time and energy trying to like make sure that we did good on that client that we didn't really have any time to develop out the rest of the business. So it ultimately didn't pan out as a lot of startups and companies do, but we learned a ton throughout that. I then switched over to the crypto space. I had been doing a lot of crypto investing for quite some time. And right around that time is when the NFT trend was like super hot. And I thought it was just the craziest thing. But I just knew that there was so much money moving around through it that once I really started to understand the tech, that's when I really got very ingrained with it. We ended up launching an NFT project from idea to launch. It took us 9 weeks to do it. Had no experience in it, but we grew a community to like over 80,000 people in Discord. Our Twitter had like 40, 50,000 followers, and we sold out a collection of a little over 11,000 NFTs in less than 24 hours. So that was a sprint for sure. And it was a lot of fun. I got to meet so many cool people in that space and got to learn a lot. And it really helped me kind of with all of the things that led up to the creation and where I am now with Easy Bombs, which has started just over a year ago now. November 6th was our 1 year anniversary.
So I gotta ask them, when's the initial coin offering for Easy Bombs? Because
Yeah, are we gonna drop an Easy Bomb NFT?
yeah, when's it happening?
Yeah, I don't know if we're getting back into that space, especially with this. I mean, I still am in crypto, but I'm not like in it the way I used to be. I still always have that FOMO. I'm looking over the fence, looking at what's going on.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are feeling that right now, without a doubt. So, but it sounds cliche, but it's so classic. Like, even like with EK Creative, I remember people coming up to me and being like, "Wow, it's amazing! Like how that came together so fast." And it's like, in a sense, like I can see that, but they didn't see the two agencies that I tried to start before that, right? Like fresh
Right.
out of school, and then so it's kind of like you just got to play the hands that you're dealt, and kind of pivot when so then you had all this business experience, kind of knew the entrepreneur thing was what you wanted to do, but then how did you come up with this idea, and what were the first initial reactions like? I mean, you're talking about on one hand something that's so familiar to a lot of people with like a bath bomb, right? Obviously you have the birria tacos, right? I mean, who doesn't love tacos, right? But I'm curious, like, what did you have like an aha moment? Like, how did you intentionally go around searching for something? Like, talk me through how you went from that background to then, okay, maybe there's something here, and then what people first said when you were like, kind of, because you have an idea, you're like, what do you think about this? You start putting out feelers.
Yeah. So, what really ended up happening is it's very similar to how the NFT side of things started. Like the only reason I wanted to get into NFTs is because I saw that there was so much attention, a super engaged audience, and things were really running there. So I knew if I could tap into that, things can really scale up. So the motivation behind starting Easy Bombs didn't even start with the product first. It started with TikTok Shop being a thing. And once I understood what TikTok Shop was doing for sellers and how they were offering these awesome coupons and trying to gain market share, that was, I think, the aha moment for me to say, okay, I want to sell something on TikTok Shop. But at that point, I had nothing. I'm like, I don't want to do a drop shipping model and like get another brand and then everybody's competing on price. So I really sat down and started thinking about what could I sell on TikTok Shop. And I just went through so much different research and I ended up landing on this conclusion one day where I was seeing that bath bombs at one point had kind of hit their peak of virality and have tapered off and have still maintained like an awesome business. There's so many billion-dollar companies that revolve around like bath bombs, like Lush and stuff like that. So bath bombs are a huge market. And then, I thought of if we can combine a bath bomb into spices and make it for cooking, like what recipes could we make? I mean, it's kind of endless, but I went back to our roots. We're Hispanic and, a lot of my family's from Mexico. My mom's an awesome cook. So she's always made a lot of these recipes since I was a kid. So I called her up one day and I said, hey, I have a crazy idea. I know you're thinking about going back to work next year, but if you can hold off and just trust me, I think we got something here. But I need your help with recipes and creation of this. So that was really what sparked the whole idea of Easy Bombs. It came from the TikTok Shop side of stuff, and then finding and seeking a product to just put on there because I knew that if I could find something there, we can gain traction quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's incredible to kind of picture you and your mom sort of in the kitchen working on these recipes. It's giving me sort of Breaking Bad vibes. You guys are just like, oh, we're gonna crack it, right? And it's amazing too that like your mom was obviously thinking about going back to work, and you're like, hey, let's see where this goes, right? It's really an incredible story, and your mom is such a charismatic person. Like, I don't know, like I've never met her, right? But I've obviously watched a ton of videos. You just feel like you know her. And I do also want to call out just for anyone listening, because we tell this to our agency clients all the time. You got to look where the platform is putting priority, and then you have to double down on that because you're going to reap the benefits from it. So whether it's like Instagram with Reels, right? Or I remember one of the first e-commerce stores that I really scaled. It was when Instagram stories had first come out and they were just pumping, right? And the CPMs were so low, they were taking priority in ad accounts. It's so amazing to hear, like, hey, you saw probably going on TikTok, every other post eligible for a commission,
Yep.
shop, right? All these different things. They're just ooh, the algorithm's changed here a little bit. It's not just kind of funny meme content. Like this is they're pushing this marketplace, and you're like, I gotta ride this wave. So really incredible. Was your mom like, all right, this is a great idea, or was she a little bit like hesitant? And yeah, what did the first like family and friends really think when you told them? Because it sounds like you were pretty, all right, I got something here, but you know, we're all human. You kind of want that validation from others, right?
Yeah, so mom was the easiest one to convince because like she just trusts me and she knows that I've had some success in business over the years here. So the moment that I told her that there's an opportunity for us to work together, she was on board, she was stoked. However, that wasn't the case with everybody that I shared the idea with because my biggest concern was I've never been in the food and beverage industry. I've never created this type of product. So how I learned quickly is I literally just start picking up the phone and just calling anybody and everybody that I know, whether you have relation to that industry or not. I'm like, who do you know or who can I talk to? And I got to talking to quite a few people. And in the beginning, a lot of them were really skeptic about the cost that it might take to actually make the product because they're like, you're going through all this effort trying to make it into this shape, but why don't you just make a blend and, you know, sell it in a packet or sell it in a shaker? And I was really strongly against that because I felt like the form factor, the experience, everything that you get with it being in a bath bomb vessel is what's going to set this apart. And a lot of people didn't see that. So my theory was right. And that's really what has helped separate us from all the other spices and seasonings that haven't really innovated in the last, 50, 60 years. Like this is all stuff that's very normal, packets, shakers, all of that.
Well, you're taking something that is a commodity that you could probably buy, right? Spices at any store, right? And you're making it, I think, an experience, which is what I love about the angle of this, right? It becomes like a fun thing you're doing. It's like an activity almost. And I do want to show everyone the first video because I know when we were chatting before this, we were talking about this, and I would just love your initial reaction seeing this, you know, just coming from where we come from now and knowing all the success. Like I think it's just pretty incredible to see. So we're gonna speak there right here for everybody.
That was it. That was the first one. Okay, there's a couple of little comments I want to make on it. So like if you just hit replay one more time and pause it.
Yep.
So look, pause it right there. So look at how different the product looks there than how it is now. So I want to explain this too, because in the beginning, I'm not kidding, it was literally us like hand rolling these freaking things because we didn't have anything to like make this bomb shape, but they like turned out so like weird looking. So we're like, you know what? Why don't we like coat them in the guajillo powder, like the chili powder that we're already using? And that's why they look so like powdery like that. And they look so different. So like, this is how early we were with this, is that we didn't even have a full process set up, literally making these out of my mom's kitchen. And our whole initial go to market was like, all right, we're just going to hand roll these. I had like a whole spreadsheet of how many people can make how many per hour. Like I was thinking like, we're going to hand roll this to the end, dude.
Yeah.
Thankfully we got out of that. But
see what happens, right?
Yeah, let's just see what the heck happens. And that was like the thought process behind everything, is like, how MVP can we go? And this was actually mom's first video. So like, even if you see her face, like she does not look super comfortable in all this right now. Like she's like,
mom's gonna kill me for pausing right there.
Yeah, she is not comfortable. And we chose this video on purpose, me and my sister, because it was the way that she said birria. So like she didn't say it with an accent. She said, you're going to take one of our birria bombs. And it sounds so like, you know, like white compared to how we would say it. So I was like, oh, she's going to get freaking roasted in the comments. Like this is the perfect video, because with that, it's going to create more engagement. And it did. Like this video went off to get like a little bit over 1 million views. And this was our very first video we posted.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how your instincts for marketing really shine through in the story, right? You're like, I think some people would shoot for perfection in this scenario, where it's like, oh, no, we got to make sure that she's saying it. It's got to sound authentic and all this stuff, where you're like, let's take the opposite route. Let's get the comments flowing in. And then the comments are going to drive, right, the algorithm to push it out to more people. So you're kind of like hacking it that way.
Well,
But
you got to also put the content where it belongs. So on TikTok, it's a very different strategy than Instagram versus
yep,
YouTube. So TikTok really thrives on this like real, raw, authentic kind of feel. And YouTube's very high production. You want multiple camera angles, long form. So it's very different. So we knew with TikTok, if we could make something that people can engage with, and we left them on a cliffhanger. Like we didn't even show the finished result. It was a 12-second clip, drop it in, and then leave the curiosity to like, what was that? What did you just put in the pot? That was
yeah.
the whole strategy with that.
Then they're like, oh, I gotta follow this account, see where this is going. But I gotta
Yeah.
ask too, because and I kind of know this, but that's not a shoppable post right there. The whole idea was born because you saw the momentum within TikTok Shop, but the first
Yeah.
post is not shoppable. There's not a strong call to action. You think back to these old TikTok videos, everyone's taking their phone and they're like, this is how you buy, right? You got to get the item. Like what happened? How did that not come together? But you still went for it. So
Yeah.
tell what happened with TikTok Shop in the early days.
So again, like my philosophy is once you have the idea and once you're ready, like you got to just sprint and cover all bases. Like we can't sell a product if we don't have a product. So let's figure that out. But then we finally get time to like, we're ready to launch. Now's the time. I go to list the product on TikTok Shop and big warnings come up of all the terms and conditions. You can't sell a product on TikTok Shop that's a food consumable that's made from home.
So
Now, I do see people do this, and I was worried that if we start gaining traction, our account will get banned and we would lose all that opportunity. So I was like, dude,
yeah,
like,
you get these candy people going live from their kitchen, making it on the spot. I will say, granted, I haven't seen as many of those recently, but
I think they've cracked down on it quite a bit. And I mean, hey, like kudos to them for trying and like having that ambition. But instead of letting that deter us, that was the original goal is like, let's be on the TikTok Shop. But then we realized we can't because we're literally making this from your kitchen, mom, and it's not going to work out like that. So what we ended up doing was just saying, okay, let's just use all the organic traffic that we can get from TikTok and Instagram now and try to bring people to our website. And that was great. Like it started to work out. The first day, our first post, I think we closed the day at like $130, $140 in sales. And I was stoked because I'm like, this is a brand new product, zero reputation, zero followers, and we made $140 for the first day. So I was stoked about that. And I was like starting to do some mental math, like, can we get it up to like 200 or 300 a day? And I'm like thinking, okay, like that would be super reasonable. Yeah.
And it's just that validation, right? I think like as an entrepreneur, whenever you're presented with a roadblock, right, your natural instinct is to pivot and find a solution. And when you do that, there is always this period of like, is this going to work out? Right. It's easy. I think that's what sort of separates the success stories to the failures. It's not necessarily the idea or the concept. It's just that ability to fight through walls and just continue to find solutions. And so I think other people in your scenario might have said, oh, well, maybe I'll wait. And oh, then I have to invest in this. And I guess it was a good idea, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. But you're like, no, let's try the Shopify thing. And even that's a risk. But then you get a few orders. It's like that validation that you need to keep going. So was your mind already kind of going to how do I scale this up when you saw those first few kind of come in, or where was your head at that point? Because you're like, all right, I got some interest from the market, but now it's like you really have to put in the work. It's one thing to have an idea. It's another to actually, build it into the business that it is today, a year later.
Yeah. So thankfully, my mom convinced me to order the equipment that we needed to get out of the hand rolling situation with like the machinery.
Always
And
with the
because from my perspective, it's like, look, I had the capital to be able to fund this, like, a couple times over. Like we could have done it, but I was like under the impression that let's run this as lean as possible. Not because I don't want to, have the nicest packaging or anything like that. Is that where I see any business that has ever worked really well for me is once you do start getting that validation, then you start doubling down. So I didn't want to necessarily order that stuff preemptively because I'm like, we haven't even made one post yet. Like, why are we going to order all this equipment and we don't even know if anybody cares, right? Yeah. So she convinced me about it and I said, okay, that's fine. Let's pull the trigger on it. I got it. So thankfully, when that came in, that was already like mid first week. So we only had a batch of about 500 of those hand rolled ones. And then we started shifting over to that, where I'm so glad we did, because like, boy, did it really start to take off. And that little machine got put through the ringer, man. We used the hell out of it.
I feel like you got to have that at like I don't know, you got to save that one, right? It got you to where you go. Your mom's probably sitting there like,
I'm gonna paint it gold, and like it'll be our trophy, like our first press. It'll be our first press, dude.
That's amazing, man. No, I love it. It's so fun to hear, and just like, you know, it's such vivid imagery, I feel like, when you're telling it. So you get the press, you're in a position to scale it up. What were the next steps you took? Because, you know, you're thinking in your head, probably, if I were you, TikTok shop, November, October last year, affiliates huge, right? But you can't do that. So you're starting to see these orders, but you're like, I got to push to Shopify. I got to also figure out, I'm sure you're, you know, determined to get it on TikTok shop eventually. So how did you scale it in the short term to be able to capitalize on what success you were seeing, but then also kind of build out, knowing probably different than the marketing strategy that you really drew up in the beginning?
Everything changed by week 2. So by the end of week 2, that's when everything really started to change, because I woke up on a Friday morning and one of our videos had started to gain some traction and it was starting to go viral. So by this point, we're like at like maybe $3,000 for the sales of the company lifetime the first 2 weeks. Awesome, super thrilled about that. But then I wake up on Friday morning, it's like 8 a.m. and we're already at like $800. And I'm like, whoa, this is way abnormal. Like, we're way higher than what we've ever been at this time in the day.
Start writing, like, if we keep this up, we're gonna be at like
well, no, lunchtime we're at $2,000. Then by like 5 o'clock, we're at like $7,000. Then I'm calling my mom and I'm telling her, order enough for another 500 more bombs. And then like another 2 hours later, I'm like, order another 500, like a round of all the ingredients. And then by like the end of the day, I'm like, order enough for another 1,000. So now we're at like 2,000 bombs that we need to make, because we're selling stuff we don't even have yet. So we're like, okay, we need to make those. And then the next morning, it's Saturday morning, I wake up, my phone's just like buzzing from the Shopify notifications. It's like, bzz, bzz. It's like right under my pillow. And I wake up and I look at the sales and I'm like, holy shit, dude, it's 7 a.m. and we're already at like 8K. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I run outside, I get on the website and I have to shut it down, because I'm like, there's no way we can fulfill all this stuff. Like, we don't even have all the product. It's just me and you, mom. Like, how the hell are we going to make 2,000 of these plus keep selling? So we ended up shutting it all down. We started instantly, though, collecting emails right away. And I put a big banner, sold out, sign up for our next drop, things like that. I started making phone calls. Yeah, I started calling everybody I knew, like, hey, can you come help? Can you come help? I'll pay you guys, come help us. So we got through that first tranche of things, and we moved to a drop system where every Saturday at 10 a.m. we would open up the website, and it would sell out in 5 to 10 minutes every single week. And the numbers just continue to scale, which I'll share with you in just a second. But just to kind of give you guys a little bit of context on the operation before I show you like what those numbers look like. So this started off in my mom's house in November. By January, we had 10 full-time people working in her house. We moved out like all the furniture in her front living room, put it in a storage. We made that our manufacturing little center. We cleared out the garage completely, like put all this plastic and made it like this clean room where we had these drums spinning these spices. And we had a whole system down. And then the whole kitchen and living room was all shipping and fulfillment. So we were constantly going around the clock, where we got up to a point where we're making 3,500 of these little bombs every day out of our house. Like that press, they're like pushing the buttons. It would press 3,500 times in a day.
That's like an operation like the Ford team would be proud of. They're just, I feel like everyone's like, oh, I'm going to start an e-commerce business. It's going to give me flexibility to travel remote. It's like, if it works, man.
Yeah. There were plenty of nights 2, 3 in the morning that me and her are just like so dead tired, and we're like hitting the buttons to like press these, and we're like, we just got 200 more to go. Come on, let's do it. It's like doing push-ups. It's like we're almost there.
With love and like exhaustion.
Yeah, and it was like all hands on deck situation. Like I even had my son there helping. He was stickering all the boxes and stuff.
Yay.
It was so cool, dude.
Awesome,
But
man. I hope you got photos and just everything. That sounds like such a crazy time. Show us these drops, because I think that's actually, just to get back to the marketing angle there, I think what that does is creates a strong sense of community too. Like it almost is like you're a part of a club because you got in, your order got in, right? And then it creates demand because you have this email list who's like, oh, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go, I need to get that, right? That looks so good, that looks so fun.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to see too, because it's just such a different strategy. I think some clients get, daily sales, weekly sales, all this. You're like, all right, and I think affects the brand too, because then you're not over promising, you're not getting too bogged down in just like fulfillment and inventory. You have a bit more control over what you're doing.
Yeah, so I started the sharing. I don't know if you have to hit a button on your side to like bring it up.
Oh, I'm gonna add you to the stage.
Okay, there it is. Sorry, you guys can see it, right? Can we get some comments if you guys can see it?
Yeah, it looks like a nice little like EKG or something.
So yeah, so this was basically from the beginning of November here. We were testing the site, but as you can see, like November 7th is when we got that $140 in sales, and we were just like open through this entire time. And then that's when that Saturday hit where we just had that pop, and I just needed to shut it down. So like we were completely down this whole time right here. So then we're like, okay, like let's just see how many we can prepare for this time, and let's go ahead and sell whatever inventory we can on this Saturday. So this is where the first Saturday drop started to come. So that Saturday, the website was open for like 4 minutes.
And then you would just switch it back to an email capture. Like you would literally just like, right, open it up, orders available now, and then shut it down, collect emails.
Yeah, and we didn't even have inventory tracking on. It was just like I was looking at the number of orders, and I kind of like figured out, okay, how many they're ordering, and I was like, it's about this many bombs. So I was like, all right, that's all we can make. Boom, shut it down, like close off inventory. And then we did 21K in that like 4 or 5 minutes there. We were blown away. So we're like, okay, we got to double down. Let's make this one bigger next week. So then we doubled it, 42.
Okay.
So then that was that Saturday. Then we couldn't quite double this one, not because we didn't have enough demand. It was more that we just didn't have enough resources and team members to help. So like these next two were kind of like in par with each other. That's where we were like comfortable on what we could make at 50K. And then we pushed it a little bit further, that one in December. And you got to remember, these are like holidays happening too. There's like Christmas and all this other
like
stuff.
Literally a year ago. It's incredible to look back at this and know that in that short of a period of time, what you guys did fulfillment wise.
Yeah, we had to create the product, we had to pack it, we had to ship it, we had to do everything out of a house basically. And then this is when like we started to really like double down and get a little bit more aggressive. So again, another drop, almost 70K. This was our first 100K drop. We wanted to push it, and we just let it keep going. We did this in about, again, 10 minutes. The website would just get hammered with so many people, because by this point we were collecting phone numbers and emails. So I would time everything to like blast everything a minute or two before the website would open. So then all of a sudden we have like thousands and thousands of people hitting the website at the same time. And we maintained that over the next couple of weeks, where we were doing 100 each week. And then we popped it up to 120. And then our biggest one was about 150. And what changed there is we started to get into manufacturing with a partner. And then we were able to start being able to have more consistent inventory, where we were just open daily at that point.
So talk me through that then, like operational logistics, because I can talk about e-commerce and ads and marketing all day, right? But I think the operational side is something that just fascinates me talking to clients. Like so many moving parts there. You're weighing probably in-house production, you're weighing fulfillment options, but it sounds like you're at this point, you're like, we got something here, we can scale. You're also probably still trying to figure out the TikTok shop thing, right? Going back to where you
still not even on TikTok shop at this point. Yeah, still not even there yet.
That's also a great call out, because a lot of people, when they get going with TikTok Shop, we always tell them, hey, you're gonna see a lift on your other like marketplaces, right? Whether it's your Shopify, your Amazon, etc. It's all gonna feed everything else. And this is literally, I think, tells that story. Even during the middle of TikTok Shop being promoted out the wazoo, you're doing a post that's pushing people back to your website, and just the virality of TikTok, it's still driving so many sales.
Mm-hmm.
But
Correct.
operationally, let's talk through operational decisions, logistics, fulfillment, and then let's get back into the TikTok Shop stuff, because I know that that's what the audience also wants to hear.
Yeah, so I'll touch on all those things and kind of how that came to be. So, one big shift is I had my uncle start working with us, and he had a lot of experience in like warehousing, logistics side of things. So I quickly made him the manager of like all the production there. So he got all of that under control, which gave me a little bit more free time to start exploring these other options. How we met our manufacturing partner is we were buying spices originally from Amazon. Like we were just buying all the tomato powder, guajillo powder, but there's challenges there because we were buying so much of it that we were literally cleaning these vendors out. And then you don't have consistency because you're buying one from here, one from there. So we knew we needed to fix that. And I remember specifically we were short, I think, tomato powder and guajillo. We couldn't find it anywhere. So I'm like calling and calling. I get on the phone with some different spice vendors, wholesalers, and I ended up finding one out of LA. And they're like, how much do you need? I'm like, I need a whole pallet of this and that. They're like, when do you need it by? I'm like, today, if you can have it. Like I'm like going to be on the way right now. So we literally rented a U-Haul truck, went down to pick it up. And they were like, what are you guys doing? Like, we don't ever sell this much guajillo and this much tomato powder. So we started explaining some stuff. And every couple of days, we were just re-upping and getting more and more and more. And so we ended up buying like all of our ingredients from them. And what ended up happening is that the manufacturer, the owners of that were like, well, what are you guys doing? Because like, this is such a fascinating story. They wanted to originally do like the spice blend for us, where they were going to blend everything. And we kind of preferred that because we wanted to maintain control of how we make the product and not share any of that. But the more we got to talking, we signed a lot of really good agreements that we put in place that protect us and also protect them in some areas, that we just decided to just do full on manufacturing with them. And that started as of the middle of February / beginning of March. So now we have the product being made in a food safe environment, manufacturing plant. It's like a 70,000 square foot location. And it was funny because they started us off like in a little corner with like one machine. Like, like we were just like this little itty bitty corner. They literally took a big risk on us to do this.
What are you like? They're just pumping these things out now for you?
Well, we've now moved up the ranks to, if we're not their number one client, we're definitely number two. Yeah, we're like
the red carpet. You guys show up. They're like, "Oh, what's going on?" The whole family.
They manufacture about 15,000 of these a day right now, and it's about 30,000 bombs with the two that come in here.
And then they're also, I'm sure, who you guys are doing all the recipe development, but for the developing sort of flavors and lines as you scale out, right? That sounds like a great relationship. Works for everyone.
Yeah, so they're helping us with a lot of that stuff. They give an awesome amount of support. I mean, we couldn't have had a better relationship with a manufacturer. Like, there's so many companies I talk to that they always have like minimum order quantities. They have all these like rules and technicalities in place. And when they talk to me about like our relationship, I let them know that we really don't have any of that. Like, they started producing in March and they haven't stopped. Like, they just keep making more, and we just keep saying like, let us know once we're at this levels, so we'll switch the product line, and then we'll keep adding more in that direction. So it's a very different relationship than any of the other ones. But at this point, we were still doing all of our own fulfillment. And then that's when we got on the TikTok shop around March. So that was like that transition piece here.
Yeah, well, I remember we I think first connected like early April or late March. So we'll get to the fulfillment side, because I know there were some things we were kind of chatting through when you first came on board. But so you get on TikTok Shop. First of all, how did that change any of the content strategy that you guys were pushing out? And then what were sort of that next steps? Like I'm just strategy wise, because I know it sounds like you started looking for some agency partners. I think at this time you had tested a little bit of ads, right? Because now it sounds like you've solved the fulfillment bottleneck. So it's about, okay, we can really scale this thing up. And the way I always like to explain this to clients is like, if you've got a dumpster fire, going to a great marketing agency is not going to solve the product problems. But if you've got a good thing burning, the marketing agency functions as like the gasoline, right? They're the ones, and you have to have it in a controlled environment. You need to be able to deliver on this. But that's like the best way I can explain it is like, hey, if you've got something good, a marketing agency is going to help you blow it out of the water. So curious for your thoughts there. Talk us through kind of you're doing some advertising, poking around. You're finally up on TikTok Shop. How did content strategy change? And then what made you think, hey, maybe an agency partnership is a good move?
Well, so we get on TikTok Shop and now we're listed, and then our product gets unlisted. Like we get a violation.
Drop a comment if you've ever had a violation on TikTok Shop. We'll do some engagement baiting on the webinar too.
And then it's like you're talking to a robot. It's like, what was wrong with the product? I was all thrilled. Like I had the team all hyped. We're going to get on TikTok Shop, and at this point we had maybe 100,000 followers, give or take. So I'm thinking there is no way this thing's not going to just go to the moon. Like as soon as we get on the shop, people are going to buy it like crazy.
Yep.
But then we get violations, then the product gets unlisted, then we have to make a new listing. So now like the first month is just kind of like hobbling along, trying to figure out what the heck's going on with it. Then that's around April when it starts to, now it's on there. We don't have any violations. It's starting to like make some sales, but we were under a probationary period too, where you can only do 200 sales in a day. And we weren't even hitting that in all the cases. And then finally, when we get momentum up to it, we get stomped out and we have to wait until tomorrow. So it was really frustrating, honestly. I was thinking TikTok Shop, I see everybody else's product like going crazy, and I'm like, what are we doing wrong? So that really threw me for a loop on it.
That's so interesting. That was what really sparked the whole thing. And now you're finally up and running, and it's like a bottleneck for it.
Yeah, now it's like they're not letting me freaking have fun on the platform. I was like, what's going on? So, anyways, like what ended up happening there is I wasn't seeing the sales like hitting the momentum. I was starting to figure out the affiliate side of stuff. I was now starting to figure out the ad side of stuff. So I tend to like to get everything going either by myself or with the team internally before we start handing it off to people, so we understand exactly what it is that we're handing off and why. And what we started doing was reaching out to different agencies. I went to the back end of TikTok Shop where they had that growth section. And in there, they list out, like, I think at that point there was maybe 8 or 10 agencies. I reached out to every single one of them. And you were the only one that responded. Yeah. You were the only one that responded. I'm not even kidding you. Like, this is how early we were in this whole TikTok Shop side of things.
I remember I got the email, and I was like, I looked at the product, I kind of looked at the email, and I was just like, this is a winner. I was just like, this is one that we're going to be able to scale up so fast. So it's mind blowing to me that other people didn't see it too and like want to jump on it. And I think like I emailed you right away. I was like in the car, I was showing Nora, I was in Monterey at that time. So I was like super pumped on this. I was already thinking about like, oh, he's got to do a barbacoa bomb and he's got to do it, all these things. Right. And then I think I had a hike scheduled for the next day. I think it was like around the time of my birthday. His friend had come in. We had like planned this for like a month and a half. And I was like, dude, I got to take this call. We ended up, I don't even think I shared this. We ended up leaving late, and we got to the park and it had already closed.
Oh no, dude.
It was so worth it. So I just remember seeing like, wow, there's serious potential here. And then I'd known like the I Love Chamoys and like some of these other more like Mexican focused food products that had just exploded off of the back of TikTok Shop. I was like, this is going to be a fun one for us. So.
Yeah, well, it was definitely the right move on our side because we had already started to run some ads. And I mean, the budgets were really low there. We were just testing and seeing what would happen. So we're running some ads. And at this point now, we're pretty deep in our conversations about us potentially working with you guys or not. I had already been talking to a couple other agencies that I was considering as well. And I remember we were asking ourselves, like, the ROAS on our current ads, what we're doing ourselves, are hovering around 5 to 7x in some cases. Do we really need an agency? Can we just scale this up? But I knew for a fact that I have to focus on other parts of the business. I can't sit here and be our ads manager and media buyer and think that we're going to not fall short somewhere else because now my focus is here. So to me, it was worth the commitment to be able to say, you know what, let's bring you guys on for all the services that you guys can help us with: affiliate management, email campaigns, meta ads, TikTok ads, and let's see what we could do, because I can guarantee whatever you guys do will do better than what we're doing, which in some cases was nothing. Like emails and things like that had already kind of been like, we haven't touched that in a while. So once we brought you guys on, that was, I think, what really helped change a lot of things. We got introduced to some of the TikTok account managers that have helped us lift those restrictions. They've put our products into different campaign categories that we weren't invited to at first.
Yep.
And what was honestly the most crazy part about it is when you guys started running the ads and we were starting to see screenshots coming back and opening our ads accounts and seeing like a 48 ROAS. I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like, just immediately, like, that already covered the cost of your guys' services. Like, that was it.
Yeah. Well, it was crazy too, because we were doing the audit and I was like, I remember looking at it with the team and we were like, they're getting good results right now and there's so much more we could do here. Right. And so you have these feelings, but it's also like a core value. We're trying to under promise and over deliver. So we don't want to come in and be like, hey, we think we're going to be able to just totally crush this. Right. And then also, as you scale up, you spend more and more, you know, typically your return is going to go down a bit, but the content was there. The story was there. Also, like, the way you approached it was very much like, hey, let's make this a real partnership. I remember when we were talking, it was like, a lot of other TikTok shop agencies, I think, just don't have the background that we do as a performance marketing agency and like the expertise across Meta. You know, we work with them very closely, email, Klaviyo, and I know we're talking a little bit more about search now too. I felt like that was a really something, if I was sitting in your shoes, that I would want to take advantage of, because TikTok's an amazing, amazing platform. But as you scale, you want to be in front of wherever consumers are. And you're also going to want to have an agency that understands the differences, right? And is able to, you know, it also has the relationships and connections. And I think that was something I was just really excited for. But I'll screen share too, just because it's still blowing my mind. We're sitting at like a 10x right now. You know, we're spending good amount of money on TikTok daily still. And it's just pretty incredible when you see these results with return on ad spend at a 9x for first-time purchasers. I mean, cost per purchase of $3.21. I mean, this is, I've done digital marketing for a while. This is one of my favorite case studies that we've ever had. It's just such an incredible result, but it's all driven by, I think, what you guys bring to the table as a brand, your story, right? You take content insights really well. You also think really critically about the content that you're developing there. So what was it like, though, scaling then when you saw the ads go on? Was it just like, oh, wow, now we have to think 2, 3, 4 times bigger than we were originally?
Well, it wasn't that it was just ads. It was that we were dumping so much energy into so many pieces that what I tell people, especially now when they ask me about TikTok Shop, is I think everybody's expectation was how my expectation was, that we're going to get on TikTok Shop and it's just going to go to the moon, you know? I think everything really has like a delayed effect of like at least 45 to 60 days.
Okay.
And all of that stuff started to hit at the same time. So like, you guys were tackling the affiliates super hard. We were giving out, you know, I think we committed to like 1,000 samples in the first month, just to like, let's flood it, let's get it out there, and let's get people trying the product. So that started happening. And then those videos were starting to get posted. Then your guys' ads started to get super optimized. We're like, we have all of this awesome ROAS coming in, and we're not like, we're scaling up that side of it. Then the other part is getting invited to all those campaigns that TikTok offers. So getting all of these things hitting at the same time was just something that, again, you can't plan for it. Like, we look at the chart of where we were from May to July. Like, well, actually, if we even go one step backwards right before May, when we're talking about April, I think April as a company, I don't remember the numbers like exactly off the top of my head, but April, when you combine like Shopify and TikTok Shop, I think we closed the month at like $250,000, about $250,000, which was kind of a down month from us compared to February, which was like 450. So we're like, what the hell? Like, we got to definitely pump this back up. All of a sudden, May hits. It's like 600K in May. And we're like, holy shit. And we thought, okay, May is like, it's going to cool down in June. It did not. It went from like 600 to like 1.5 in June. And then July, it was like 2.8. So like these like insane leaps each month were what was really challenging to stay on top of, because before we had these like awesome bags where they're all fully designed.
I love how proud you are of the new packaging too. You're like,
it's such a lifesaver, because it used to just be these like white bags, same size, same shape and everything, but they were white on one side and then clear on the back. And we used to get them from Uline. So we were ordering like thousands of these things from Uline. But if it's blank, like it doesn't have any branding or anything. So we used to just put a sticker on the front and then a sticker with the instructions and all the info about how to use it, nutritional stuff on the back. Now we're scaling and we're making 10,000 of these bags a day. So that's 20,000 stickers a day that we need to be able to sticker the front and the back of each one of these bags.
so much time.
So I was calling our sticker guy in Placentia here in California, and I had his crew working around the clock, and they were literally making 20,000 stickers a day. That was the max they could do. And we were putting them in an Uber to the manufacturer so his night crew can sticker while the crew gets ready for the morning to manufacture. And we were doing this along with picking up whatever they had ready to bring to our fulfillment center. It was just chaos, absolute chaos. And I think in July, we shipped out about 100,000 packages out of our warehouse. So it was just 7 days a week, just cranking with the team of like 12 people, just packing all day long. So that's a little bit of the inside of how the back end side of stuff was happening and all the chaos. I mean, I'm just giving you guys even some high level pieces about it. It's not, I'm probably forgetting so many of the other details of things that happened or came up. Like one of the times, one of the pallets that was on the way to our warehouse, the whole top half of it literally fell over on the freeway. And we had birria bombs all over the road, dude.
So who's liable in a situation? Like, do you just have to eat that, or is it, is there some sort of insurance, or because that's money?
It was like half a pallet. I mean, at this point, like we're burning through like 5 of these a day, and it was just like, dude, it was an accident. Like the guy messed up. He was a dude that like had a truck and a trailer. It was like almost like a horse trailer converted for like just a flatbed. So, he made a mistake. He didn't secure that piece. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like it is what it is.
You got to charge it to the game.
It is what it is. Yeah. It was a fun story actually, because we posted it because somebody in like Facebook in those groups took pictures of it because it was all over the road. And then people were commenting on that post like, oh, I think that's Easy Bombs. I think they're up here in this area. Like it was so funny. So yeah, we let it go.
You got going on shop. It's like Shopify, right? Collection drops. You're working through the fulfillment stuff. You finally get that to a good place. You get it going on TikTok Shop. The launch doesn't sound like it went exactly how you had pictured in your head. You're struggling through violations and all this different stuff, right? Then you're like, let me loop in an agency, help them sort of tackle some of that stuff for me, see if they can scale this thing to the next level so you can focus more on the operations, right? To just keep up with all these orders. You start getting going with these new things like TikTok, GMV max campaigns. You're pushing traffic to your shop ads, video shopping product, right? And then we're starting to launch some Instagram stuff, which to me, I always thought was really interesting because I feel like people underestimate the value of being omni-channel and being in these different places, right? Because then it creates this feeling of like, oh, wow, this TikTok product, now I'm seeing them on Instagram, right? Now I'm getting email reminders about potential collections and new drops that they have. It's just the way you scaled it was very incremental. So I don't know. It's really, really exciting. And then what I wanted to screen share too is like, while this is all happening, look at what was happening to your Google search, man. So, and this, I think just again, speaks to how all these platforms work together. So if you look at Google search right now, right? So we're talking about this. This is, basically very, very low search volume for any of this stuff. We were saying, I think the end of May, right?
May, yeah, that's the
Really
month that started to change. Yeah.
Look at the search volume for birria bombs.
Yeah.
Insane, man. And now, I mean, it's like, that's incredible. And we tell clients this, like your Facebook ads, your TikTok ads, your paid social bucket, as you scale that up, you have to be more conscious of what's happening on your search. Because the other thing is, if say your product wasn't there, right? Or you guys were not able to handle the fulfillment, people are going to start ragging on you in Reddit. They're going to start ragging on you on your Google reviews. And so when people are cross-checking this search, right, they're going to basically, they're in the consideration phase of buying. This might determine what they see on Google, might determine if they buy or not, right?
100%.
So such significant volume here. And again, just hits home to like the TikTok lift, but then also how being in control of all these different moving parts is really key to keeping up that scaling.
Yeah, it definitely takes an army. Like we have a team of people here that have all been growing alongside of the company with us. A lot of the first initial jobs were just like, take one of these, put it in a box and tape it and do that 5,000 times. And then like that's the training was like 30 seconds, you know. Nowadays, like we have to do a lot more technical stuff because we've gotten rid of all of the manufacturing and we've converted as of August to full 3PL services and TikTok fulfillment. Now we're starting Amazon fulfillment. So we don't even touch any of the product. It goes from one manufacturing location to a distribution hub, and all of that gets sent out. So now our main focuses are going to be focused around sales, marketing, and customer service. Those are like the three pillars that we're going to really dive deep on.
Well, let's spend a few minutes on that. I do want to make sure we have a little bit of time for questions. I unfortunately do have a hard stop. I got to get to another call after this. So
no worries.
Let's talk through 2025. I think we've talked about the opportunity there is, I think, on Google. I think YouTube is something we've talked about, YouTube shopping and affiliate. What are your thought processes? Like what's important for you? And then as an agency, I really think it's our responsibility to like drive the innovation from a digital marketing perspective. It's not just, hey, okay, you want to do this? Yeah, let's do it. Like, I think we need to be the people who are bringing these new ideas to you, right? Like, and saying, hey, have you noticed this? Hey, have you noticed that? This is what you should be doing. So if you're looking for an agency to just do what you say, we're probably not the best fit for you. But if you want someone who's going to help you push the envelope, I think that's where we come in. But how are you thinking about it? Like, what's your priorities for the next like 6 months?
Yeah, no, I mean, to also give you guys credit, like you guys have been the ones that have been pushing us to do a lot of new things that we weren't trying before, different campaign types, just being one of those categories. But even now, we're going to be starting to do Google services with you guys to do Google ads, YouTube stuff, things like that. And it's, the funny thing is, it's not that we weren't interested in any of these things before. It's just the reality is it wasn't until around August where we could really take a step back and put our heads up and like really see what's beyond this. What can we do? We only had one SKU all the way up until September, and now we have 4. So now like all these new things are coming out. So like different focuses, but I think if I had to sum up what 2025 looks like is I think we still haven't even really touched on what the online side of things can be done. Like our website, we can certainly grow the sales there by scaling Meta up, scaling up YouTube and Google search. So I have a lot of conviction that we're going to be able to easily scale that up to being a huge channel, much bigger than what it is right now. TikTok, we actually just got back from Seattle last week. We spent several days there with the TikTok team, boots on the ground in their offices. And we got to meet with every department, all the way from the fulfillment team to the food and beverage team. And they have very ambitious goals for us where they want us to grow like 80% next quarter. So I think that there's still so much more on the horizon there. And we're now starting to also build out a retail side of the business where we're going to be taking this into retail. We should be at about 300 stores before the end of this year. We already have like purchase orders and product getting shipped to them as early as next week. And we have conversations with Costco Thursday. We're actually going to their office and doing a demo, taking all this food and showing them all the products. So it's going to be fun. We have a meeting with Walmart in January. Kroger's already come and done site tours of our facility that manufactures. So we're sprinting in all directions, and that's why the team is so crucial, and why it was so important for us to work with somebody that was experts in the category of what you guys do at Agitol, because it's really freed me up to start building all the team in all these other areas. Because if we want to be as aggressive as we were in the first year, next year we have to double down, and I can only do that by expanding the team and getting more help in all the areas.
Yeah, well, I think you have an amazing team. I love that you've leaned into your family. It's truly a family-run business, which is incredible. I know you guys do a lot to give back to the community too, which is just awesome and inspiring. So you got to keep me posted. I'm coming down to build that house in February. We're making it. I got to meet Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the retail stuff, like, do you sort of document this journey on your TikTok? Like, I'm just curious. Like, I know that's a big sort of thing that I see a lot of these days is like the founder-led kind of documented business journey. But do you think that feeds into the community? If you sort of shied away from that, like, what are your thought processes around that? And then also launching these new product lines. I just want to say, building around a single SKU is an amazing strategy. When it hits, it's so much more scalable. Imagine if you're doing fashion or apparel, right? And you just sold out of these items, and then people want winter clothes and they want spring clothes. It's just a chaotic business versus the hero SKU, right? But now with these other product lines, it gives us so much more ammo in your ad account to push retargeting audiences, drive up the lifetime value of these users, increase the average order value of them, right? Drive potentially traffic to in-store. TikTok Live is something I know your team has experimented with a bit, and I'm sure it's something that they were talking to you about.
We
When you're
hold the largest GMV sales for food and beverage in the category. We broke the record in September, and then we broke our own record earlier this month. So,
okay, we want to double it next time.
Dude, we have to. There's still so much more potential, so we're definitely going to get there. So, I don't know what was the question exactly there, but did you want to open it up for any of the other questions that people have? Because I know we're coming up on time.
Yeah, let's definitely do it. Drop them in. I know we've seen some great engagement. So Carla, Robert, Devin, really appreciate all just like the hustle. It seems like your story is really resonating with people, which is amazing to see. But yeah, if you have questions, please drop them in, and I'll be a little late to that next call that I have coming up, and we'll just see if we get some good stuff in here.
I see Devin's question that he's asking about for retail. Is that because of TikTok? And that's yep, there you go. Is that what the retail's looked at? So yeah, we've had some inbounds because of TikTok. Our manufacturing partner also makes a lot of products, not only his own brands, but he distributes to tons of different retailers in the area. So he kind of has been quarterbacking the retail side of the expansion, and we just cut him in on like a distributor agreement. So he makes the product and then helps distribute it, and he's been the one that's really gotten a lot of these meetings set up. We did our first food expo in Long Beach as well, and that opened up the doors to a ton of other opportunities because a lot of people knew the brand already. And what was actually a funny story is one of the Kroger reps literally came to our booth and was showing us the text messages that his people above him like sent him to find Easy Bombs here to like get a contact. And why I got back on LinkedIn was because he was like, we tried to find you guys on LinkedIn, but we couldn't. I was like, all right.
Yeah, actually,
I'm back.
that's gonna be big, man.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions? I'd love to answer anything else that I could. I tried to give you guys as much like real feedback as what's happened, because a lot of times when I hear these stories or see these posts that go up, a lot of time you kind of highlight what's worked. I'm trying to be as real and authentic about all the challenges that we had. Like thinking through it, the initial idea was let's get on TikTok Shop as our go-to-market strategy, but it didn't actually happen until months after. And even when it did, it was still a challenge. Like these are real things that happen.
We got another one in here. What do you think of the future on TikTok Shop? You think it will eventually slow down? So I'll let you get this, and then I'll share my thoughts.
Well, I mean, here's my thoughts and why it was so exciting to me is I didn't get a chance to be around when Amazon was like getting off the ground. So I could imagine how that must have been in those days, and look at where it's at and what has become of Amazon. I kind of see TikTok as being in a similar situation because I just got a chance to be up there last week with all of their team. I mean, they have multiple buildings there, multiple floors just dedicated to the shop. And it really felt like if I was in Amazon in the early days where they're all learning along this thing, they're investing so much into it. And what's exciting about it is we and everybody on this call has an opportunity to kind of plant your flag in a category before everyone else does. Like imagine trying to start in the seasonings category on Amazon versus TikTok Shop. Like the competition is far less today. So I think it will eventually be closer to like how Amazon is, but I think the volumes will continue to grow because they just still have so much market that they don't even have yet.
Yeah, well, that's where my head goes. The room to run is really, really great. And the other thing is a lot of the younger generations are the ones who are buying and it's native to them. They're used to buying on TikTok Shop. They're used to buying on Instagram. It reminds me of when I was younger and we used to go to websites when I was growing up and you would have hesitation from someone who was 40, 50 years old. Like, I'm not giving my credit card over the internet. I think the older generations, I'm not giving my credit card to Meta or I'm not giving my credit card to TikTok. The younger generation is not thinking twice about this. And for them in 10 years, it's going to be where they shop. It's going to be a huge, huge marketplace. So I think the subsidies and some of the incentives will slow down, but the overall GMV volume will just continue to increase.
100%. How do you successfully handle all the TikTok violations? This is actually something that we've actually gotten a lot of recognition for at the TikTok team because we have an amazing shop health. Like if you go to our TikTok shop, I think it shows that we perform like 95% better than all other shops. Like we have always maintained like a 4.8 out of 5 stars on our customers, on all the points that they give you. Violations nowadays, sometimes the algorithm might trigger something that just is kind of ridiculous. So we have an account manager that we forward that off to, and then those go away. But typically, we don't really get many, if any at all now. Like we understand the rules and we play well within the rules, and TikTok does reward you for doing that. Even if you have internal support, you can't keep making the same mistakes and then they're going to bail you out. Like you really do need to be on top of that. So we were adamant about everything, like shipping out orders on time, making sure all of our posts are compliant, all of that stuff.
Yeah. And the shop health is going to affect your organic and your paid reach. So it's really, really, really important. And the rules are there for a reason. As annoying as some of those violations are, they're not perfect, right? There's a lot of automation there. The rules are there to make sure that fraudulent sellers don't get spread on the platform, which ultimately will ensure the future of TikTok Shop by making it a trustworthy place to shop from, like Amazon, where you don't think twice and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna get my package.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 more, and then I'm gonna really have to jump because I need to get to another call. But
I actually like this one. How do you ensure this isn't a trendy product and interest will fade? Well, that is the risk of being an entrepreneur. You never know if your product is going to end up dying off or not. But what I can say is that the people that have tried the product and the people that have ordered it love the product. We have so many great reviews for being a food product, especially that taste differ amongst humans. And we have around a 25 to 30% reorder rate as well. So it's pretty insane how many people each month are coming back to reorder the product with no subscriptions and anything in place like that. So I really don't know. Nobody knows. You never know when Doritos go out of style, but like they're still pumping and growing. You know what I mean?
And then you got to find ways to reinvent yourself, right? It's you have to adjust with the times. So I think that's something that we've talked about throughout this webinar is the ability to pivot. So if you do see those sales dips, right, figuring out the why behind it and then adjusting.
Yeah.
It's a great question. I think it's something that is probably always in the back of entrepreneurs' head. It's like, hey, how do I keep this going? But it's a good problem to have.
Certainly is.
All right. So this is our last one. What about the Amazon Prime integration? Have you tested this and any thoughts?
So we're honestly just getting started on Amazon. I think our first sales started to come in on the 9th of November, and the inventory hasn't even fully hit. I think all of those items are available for pre-sale because we have like a whole truckload that's getting injected into their system. So we are making sales on it every day, but we haven't fully like dived in to start optimizing Amazon.
Yeah.
So,
and I think this is also talking about the Amazon Prime integration with TikTok Shop, which I think is interesting. My read on this is that if you can do a direct integration with TikTok Shop, you're better off. The platform's going to reward you. They're going, you can't do it, right? I think that it makes sense to look at an integration like this. But there's also Amazon fulfillment. So if you're able to sell on Amazon, you can plug your fulfillment operations in a TikTok Shop and still sell natively on TikTok Shop. So I would strongly recommend being native on the platform 10 out of 10 times. But if you're unable to do that, right, or potentially, you just have so much social proof on your Amazon reviews, 5-star comments, all that stuff, maybe test it out. But long term, I think you want the social proof on each platform. And so I wouldn't recommend an integration right now. And just, I haven't heard success stories around it yet. It's a very, very new feature.
Yep.
All right. Well, Brandon, I really want to thank you for joining. We'll monitor the comments. So if you're watching this after, we'll jump in here. Definitely connect with Brandon. I know you want to be more active on LinkedIn. So we'll see. Maybe in 3 months, we'll do a follow-up and see how some of these priorities that we established for 2025 come together.
That'll be fun. Hopefully it's in like a new home office, not home office, but like headquarters, because we're in the middle of getting some transition and some build out stuff happening.
Nice. Well, I like the at-home feel though. It adds a nice level of like comfort, authenticity to it. You got the cars that I know Nate built in the back, and
the one my son built.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we will see you soon. Thank you everybody for asking questions and engaging, and definitely connect with myself, connect with Brandon, and really just exciting and happy for you, happy for your family, and can't wait to see where this goes over the next few years.
Thanks for having me. I'm definitely looking forward to what the future has to come, and I'm excited for the follow-up. So thanks for joining, everybody. See you guys.
Bye.